Hello guys, full time at Villa Park, Aston Villa 0, Arsenal 2. What a fantastic result it is for Arsenal. You know, when you are trying to wrest the title away from Man City, we've spoken so many times about the need to gain those extra 1 or 2%, you know, those fine margins. Where are the possible areas for improvement? Well, don't worry about that, just something falling over. One possible area for improvement clearly was in the fixtures against Aston Villa. You know, we lost home and away against this side last season, and they're a very good team. Don't get me wrong, they are a very good team. Unai Emery has got them well drilled, well organised, playing with some real physical intensity, and particularly at home, I think they are a difficult side to overcome. So, to get 3 points away at Villa Park, particularly given the difficult start we faced to this season, I'm delighted, really, really delighted. And Arsenal, I think, have some outstanding individual contributions to thank for these points. Let's start with Leandro Trossard, because I was very surprised last week when Mikel Arteta went for Gabriel Martinelli over Trossard. I thought, having done that, he might change it again today and bring Trossard back in. It was hard to call. But Trossard's had to wait for his chance. You know, he's not had a start yet, a competitive start this season. Comes off the bench here. And I've got to say, I don't think Gabriel Martinelli had a great game. I think, you know, something his critics aim at him is that his decision-making can be poor, or has been poor in recent months. I think it was true today, certainly. I think he looked like a player lacking in confidence, a bit unsure when he entered the final third about, you know, whether to shoot, whether to pass, what time to release the pass. Anyway, Trossard comes on, and his first touch just strokes the ball into the bottom corner. And that was not an easy finish. He makes it look easy, but it's not easy at all. Because bear in mind, when Bukayo Saka cuts that ball back, it takes a nick on the way through, right? I think an Aston Villa defender gets to it, and it actually changes direction about 3 or 4 yards before it reaches Trossard. And yet he's able to adjust and just take it in his stride and pass it into the far corner of the net. I thought his celebration afterwards was a man making a point, maybe a man who feels like he should have started in his last 2 games. You know, I was reminded of that Michael Jordan meme, and I took that personally. It feels like he's taken the decision to not start these games very personally indeed. And he's made his point. He absolutely made his point, not just with the finish, but with other moments in the game. You know, brilliant movement in behind in the lead up to the second goal. A wonderful touch at one point, which found Declan Rice. Just a beautiful first time, cushioned pass. He was great. And he has a, I'm going to say, magical ability to conjure up goals. You know, it's not just luck, guys, for him to be doing this, for him to regularly be on the score sheet in this fashion. What is it down to? I think football intelligence, tactical understanding, reading a game. I think that's what makes a player a great substitute, and Trossard won't want to be known as that, that's for sure. But the ability to watch a game and see where the space might be, where the opportunities might be. He does it when he starts to, you know, it's described as kind of a sixth sense or a nose for goal. But let's be clear, that is football IQ, that is football intelligence. The capacity to understand the way the move is developing, where the ball is likely to be, to anticipate and be there. Anticipation, that's part of it as well. Quick reactions, right? Being the first guy to make a move, getting an extra yard ahead of your defender, that acceleration in those moments, and then composure. And I think that is really where he has the edge over possibly everybody in the Arsenal attack. Composure in the big moments. I mean, in the run-in last season, I said there isn't another Arsenal player I'd want a chance to fall to, you know. If the ball breaks in the penalty box and it's an Arsenal player striding onto it and it's, you know, the goal to win us the league or the Champions League, I would want it to be Trossard of the guys we have available right now. I really would. I'd back him over everybody else. So, hats off to him. I thought this was an outstanding cameo. A performance that I think demands inclusion from the start in the next game, which is Brighton at home next weekend. A top-of-the-table clash, no less, after their win over Manchester United, which I'm sure many of you enjoyed. Let's talk about David Raya as well. So, last season, the story of David Raya was one of calmness, steadiness, you know, coming out to claim crosses, good distribution, not necessarily outstanding saves. Well, 2 games into this season and he's made an outstanding save in both. I think it was Strand Larsen, is that his name? The Wolves guy who flicked on that header on the opening day, and he kind of manages to change direction and make a brilliant stop. And then today, the way he kept out Ollie Watkins, I mean, it's probably the most memorable moment of his Arsenal career to date. Listeners to the Arscast Extra will know I spoke about him winning the crowd, a la Gladiator. I think he'll be winning the crowd after a save like that. That is for sure. Stunning reactions. Let's again break it down. Reaction time. Goalkeepers work on this day in, day out on the training ground. Athleticism. And I think also commitment and bravery and belief. You know, it's very easy to give up on a ball like that. It's very easy to see Ollie Watkins preparing to knock in that rebound and think, it's gone. Well, David Raya didn't do that. He was too professional. And he ends up making a worldie of a save, and one that I'm sure we'll be talking about all season long. It'll go a long way to beat that this season. I spoke about that desire, belief, professionalism. William Saliba showed that in the dying moments, chasing back. You know, his last 10 minutes of the game, we're 2-0 up, and he races back, electric speed, to recover and make a last-ditch tackle. I mean, the guy is just unbelievable. I honestly couldn't put a figure on what he's worth to this team. And watching this game, I wish I was in the press conference, because I'd love to ask Mikel, you know, what was the moment where you changed your mind on Saliba? What was the moment where you recognised this guy can be an Arsenal player? Because we came so close to not seeing Saliba shine as he's doing in an Arsenal shirt now, and I'm so glad it's happened. We got a second goal in amidst all that. Thomas Partey stroking home. I think Emi Martinez will be disappointed to have not kept that out. I don't think the away fans were remotely disappointed about it, though. And again, Bukayo Saka involved. You know, it's funny. He might not grab the headlines today, but it was his cutback which led to Trossard scoring. His pass, I think, that led to Partey curling home from the edge of the box. I mentioned that Raya save. We had to ride our luck a bit today. You know, I think on another day, Ollie Watkins probably scores a couple of goals. Maybe if we're a couple more weeks into the season, he's barely trained, apparently, Ollie Watkins. And he missed an absolute sitter in the first half. And although it is a wonder save from Raya, it's a wonder save because it is a sitter for Watkins. I mean, I think if you're a Villa fan, you're probably looking at that and thinking, he's got to score. That's not to take anything away from the goalkeeper, but it's interesting to see Watkins not quite have that sharpness. And you've got to remember, we've got England players too, right? Guys who were involved right up until the Euros final. And maybe they're not looking their absolute best. I'm thinking of Declan Rice. And maybe that's totally understandable. You know, I think it's probably true of England players across the board. I think it will take some time for them to find their true level. What else to say? Jurrien Timber came in at left back and I thought did well. It was pleasing to see him start a Premier League game, and you know, he had good moments and bad moments, but I think overall justified his selection. I thought Rodgers had a really good game in midfield for Villa and made Partey and Rice not look the best at times, you know, with his running off them and through them. I like him, I have to say. Interesting player, came from, I think, was it Middlesbrough? He's ex-Man City Academy, if I'm right in saying. But I liked what he brought to the team. I have to be honest and say that, like, I felt a little bit envious of it. He's got quite a maverick energy. I'm not saying he's an Arsenal player or good enough to play for Arsenal. I don't really know. I've barely seen him only a couple of times. But I liked that kind of maverick running through the midfield. I felt like there was a desire in him to make things happen. Reminded me of Morgan Gibbs-White a little bit. And I do think that there is an argument we may lack a bit of that. I've spoken about that before. The X factor in attack, you know. people who can produce something out of nothing. I think we're going to have to start saying Leandro Trossard is one of those people. But is there time in what remains of the transfer window to add another dimension to this attack? Part of the reason I'm talking about that is because one of the stories today is that Gabriel Jesus missed out through injury. Arsenal say it's a minor groin injury, but I think it is a timely reminder maybe of his frailty physically, his vulnerability to injury. And I know he's had a good pre-season, but can he be relied upon? Is it enough? You know, bear in mind, Fabio Vieira looks like he's going back to Porto, not in the squad today. Eddie Nketiah, yes, he was in the squad, but advanced talks about a move to Nottingham Forest. You know, we had Reece Nelson coming off the bench today. I'm coming around to the idea I think Reece Nelson's going to stay. I'm not sure there's a buyer for Reece Nelson. But do we need something a bit more than that? In the wide positions up front, I think we do. I think we need one more signing. I'm not the type of fan who ever says, we need to buy more players. You know, I'm not the type of fan who ever calls on the club to spend money. And I think it's entirely possible this squad could win the league with just Marino coming in and without further additions. I think they could. But I think one more signing would give me a lot more confidence that they can or that they will. I think we're good enough, but I think there's more than we can do. And I hope the club recognise that and push the boat out in this final week. I'm not sure it's necessarily their plan, but I wonder if the Jesus injury will make them think twice. Let's see. I'm going to leave it there. Great result today, guys. Brilliant result for Arsenal. Really good start to the season. Some top individual performances in there too, even though I don't think we were necessarily at our best, our most cohesive today. Please subscribe. I appreciate it. You know, it's great to support the channel. It helps out. It means more people get these videos on their home pages and what have you. And we'll speak soon. Big week coming up with transfer deadline. Big week. And then a massive game against Brighton. The big games keep on coming. Bye-bye.